Hey, Murray, back with another video. It's 9:46 a.m. Saturday morning. This is my third video this morning. I guess I'm on a roll. I guess I need to talk, but we're just kind of because I need closure. I need to have some sort of things resolved in my mind, and my brain is going to continually seek those answers because when you deal with these sort of injustices, you're not satisfied, and I do believe that that the cute guy, people may have assumed that I knew about the cute guy lingering around. I had no idea, none whatsoever. I hadn't heard from him. I wrote him in 2008. I never heard anything from him. And the more I think about it, I'm assuming that he must have been lingering around. And maybe he assumed that I was single because my last name was still Gordon. And so maybe that, this is what I'm trying to figure out. I had no idea. And I'm still not 100% sure, but I kind of think so, that he's hanging around. And you know what? That's great. It's wonderful. I also have a feeling that, or suspect that Polly, my ex-mother-in-law, not that I ever considered her anything in my life anyway, may have known that he was around, and she may have assumed that I was seeing him or had something to do with him at that time. She was completely wrong, if that's what she was assuming. I also feel as though she may have some certain opinions about him as well as my family. I'm referring to the cute guy. And the thing is that, you know what? I have a lot of respect for the cute guy. And, when I compare him to these people, I don't really feel as though they have any right to say anything, at all. But, the reason why I'm making this video is because I think a lot of women, they, especially a lot of women in my age group, I've spoken to a few women, and I remember this one lady particularly. She was telling me that, wow, Maria, I can't believe that, you're so strong that you, if it were me, if I was in your situation, I would latch on to the first guy I saw. I would just latch onto a guy and have him help me out and stuff. And, she kind of stopped mid-sentence because she was ashamed to admit that that's what she would do in her situation, or in my situation. And the thing is that, like I said, I'm very well aware that people have very low standards and they don't have good social skills. They don't know how to interact well with people, and many people abuse other people on a daily basis, and so I'm aware of that, and I don't want to jump into relationships willy-nilly with people because of that very reason. I've learned my lesson, okay, not just through like what they call romantic relationships. I'm talking about through so-called friendships and so on. So, I'm very careful about that. And I know there's a lot of women, they like to go out with different guys and they're constantly dating, and that sort of thing. But I am a very reserved person. I would prefer not to be that kind of person. Only because, like I said, I know how people are. And, I feel as though, if, I'm not, if I don't find the right person, then why would I lower my standards and be with somebody just for the sake of being with someone? Because oftentimes those relationships have no fulfillment whatsoever, So I have no problem with being on my own, Now, the cute guy, he's welcome into my life anytime he wants to. But what I'm saying is that if he doesn't come into my life, I'm fine by myself. I think a lot of women just maybe feel like they have to be in a relationship, but that's not the case with me, especially since I've been abused, from my family growing up. And then I look at Joel's family and that whole situation. That's just abusive. That's extreme abuse, and that's the most bizarre shit I've ever heard in my entire life, right? But, I would prefer, to not engage in those sort of relationships because for my own sanity, And I did talk to somebody on Facebook a while ago. I think, I don't know, maybe it was about 4, 5 months ago. I don't know. I'm losing track of time here. But, the number one question that people ask me is like, well, how do you satisfy your sexual urges, And I think that's kind of funny because it kind of reveals why a lot of people end up in relationships, because they base so much of that on a relationship. And that's their choice. That's what they want. But to me, yeah, I guess sex has its place, but it's not something that needs to be the most important thing. It's, when I think of relationships, I think of people who can live harmoniously with one another. They enjoy each other's company, and then those things kind of come in last, or not last, but they're a part of it. Sex is a part of it, but shouldn't be like the main thing, And some people are sexually driven. That's what they do. I mean, everything that they do for the sake of sex or attracting the attention of the opposite sex or whatever. They're sexually motivated and driven, and that's fine for them. But I would say I'm not. Okay, I want more out of life than just satisfying impulsive urges. And so that's why. I believe that my decision for myself is wise, So I don't sit around thinking, gosh, I really want to do that. And I don't think about that. I don't, seriously, I don't, There was a time where I actually identified myself as asexual because it's like, it's not that important in my life, I would rather have genuine friendships. And, I remember somebody, what was I going to say here? I remember people, telling me, thinking that was weird, And so, and I think that's one of the reasons why, because people know, I don't sit here and my life doesn't revolve around that. And I'm not judging people whose lives do revolve around that, because, it's a part of human nature, but that's just not who I am, I think sometimes a lot of women, they meet men and they end up getting used for that reason. And what women really want is they want a secure relationship. They want something that's more of an emotional bond. Not every woman, but, some of us do. And they want emotional bonds first before something like that comes into place. And that's just my standard. You know what I mean? I don't try to impose that on other people. And so people judge me harshly because, they think, well, that's abnormal. It's not abnormal. It's a personal choice. I would say that it's different because most people are sexually driven. I mean, to the point of where they're willing to get into a relationship that provides no other form of fulfillment other than maybe sex. And that's it, But I choose to have more within that package, you know what I mean? Like to have more in a relationship. So